share science-based information on psychology and strategies that might help to improve your mental well-being and to understand yourself better. So today we will be discussing about emotional regulation. We'll continue to discuss and about different strategies and science that might help to regulate your emotions better and to understand what's the cause of emotions. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications so that you can see whenever there are new videos are being published. I want to start with something interesting. Most of us were never taught to handle emotions. We were taught to suppress, to avoid emotions, to hide them, try to control them, or be ashamed and try to distract ourselves. However, here is the gap. The more we suppress our emotions or we try to distract ourselves, with the stronger power they come, and there are considerable negative consequences for your mental health and uh, physical symptoms as well. So today we will be discussing about strategies that might help you to better understand your emotions, to understand yourself, to understand the reasons why they are, and to to help you to learn new strategies that you can use to handle and regulate your emotions better. So today we will be discussing about neuroscience of how emotions are generated and regulated, why suppression backfires, and what you can do instead. We'll be also mentioning about James Gross process model, the most influential framework in this field, and also different emotional regulation skills and tools that you can start using today. So emotional regulation refers to the process by which people are being influenced and by the emotions that they have when they have them and how they experience and express these emotions. And according to James Gross definition, he has spent decades building on scientific foundation on this field. There are key elements in that definition. Which emotions you have, you can influence the emotional landscape you are in, and when you have them, timing and context also important, and how you experience and express them, internal feeling and outward behavior. If to explain with a more simple language, emotional regulation is your ability to work with your emotions skillfully, not to suppress them, to eliminate them, not to be controlled by them, but to navigate them with intention. And there are adaptive and maladaptive regulation strategies. Not all emotions are equal. Research distinguishes between adaptive and maladaptive strategies. Adaptive strategies include cognitive reappraisal. It means finding another interpretation of experiences you are having and noticing thoughts about them. And problem solving, taking action on what you can change, mindfulness meditation strategies, observing without judgment, seeking social support, physical activity. So there are a lot of different strategies that you can learn and you can try in order to help yourself to cope with emotions better. And there are maladaptive strategies such as suppression, rumination, avoidance, substance use, self-harm. And research by Gross and Jones shows that people who habitually use cognitive appraisal compared to those who habitually suppress or avoid emotions were found to have less negative emotions, more positive emotions, better ability to concentrate, emotional regulation, better social relationships, and significantly better mental health outcomes. And so why emotions exist? From an evolutionary perspective, emotions were there in order to help us to stay safe, to keep us from possible dangers. And they are not they are not seen as flaws, they are evolved because they serve survival functions. For instance, fear was helping us to stay mobilized and to become aware of resources or to face or flee danger. Anger might be signaling of violation of your values and might be motivating against injustice. For instance, sadness might be signaling loss, and disgust may be protecting from contamination. Joy reinforces behaviors that are good for survival and reproduction, and surprise might orient attention to unexpected events. And every emotion has a function, so the goal of emotion regulation is not to override these functions, but to work with them skillfully and to let emotions inform actions rather than dictate it. So next time when you will have some overwhelming emotions or overwhelming feelings, instead of trying to suppress them or to avoid them or to distract yourself, you can try asking what are these emotions trying to support you, or what are they trying to tell you. And when a person is able to understand the cause, reason of emotions and understand themselves better, and to label these emotions, to name these emotions, they can their impact decreases, influence of emotions decreases, and creates more freedom for you to to be able to act according to your choices. And let's look at what actually happening in the brain when you feel an emotion. For instance, limbic system, especially amygdala, gets overactivated. It's brain's emotional processing center, and it's very fast, automatic, and operates largely below conscious awareness. That's why, for instance, maybe sometimes you might have some automatic emotions that are even difficult to track, like what has caused it, because emotions come faster than thinking cognitions, and oftentimes um, like maybe you cannot find any reason why you feel that way. And when amygdala detects something emotionally relevant, it fixes immediately before you consciously know what's happening, before the prefrontal cortex even gets the message. And prefrontal cortex, region of your brain that's responsible for concentration, focusing, decision making, executive functioning, receives the signal slightly later, and it can modulate, dampen, or amplify the emotional response, but it takes time. And when emotion is very intense, it can be overwhelmed. That's why we sometimes say or do things that in the heat of emotions that we later regret, but prefrontal cortex was temporarily offline at that time. Therefore, understanding this might better help you to understand yourself better, why in certain situations it's more difficult to control your emotions or to act according to logics rather than emotions. And understanding this might help you to pause and to learn new strategies to react differently. And there is so well-known constructed emotion theory, according to which uh, recent research by neuroscientist Lisa Feldman Barrett challenges the traditional view of emotions as fixed, universal, hardwired responses. Barrett's theory of constructed emotions proposes that emotions are not triggered by the world, they are actively constructed by the brain. It can be based on past experiences, current bodily state, and conceptual categories available for you. So imagine, for instance, there are too many people at the same place experiencing the same events, experiences, but they might have slightly different emotions because of their lived experiences in the past, the way they were raised, according to their culture, the way of thinking, genetics. Therefore, there are a lot of factors in play that are influencing how we experience emotions, why they are arising. And what does this mean practically? It means that the more emotion concepts you have, the more precisely you can construct and regulate your emotional experiences. And people with richer emotional granularity, the ones who are able to understand and express their emotions, they were found to have less anxiety levels, depression levels, physical symptoms, and they were able to concentrate better. Their memory was improving better. Therefore, your emotional vocabulary is literally a regulation tool, and words give you handles and experiences that would otherwise be overwhelming or undifferentiated. So when we are able to understand our emotions, whatever we are feeling, and to express these emotions, to be able to share emotions, their intensity decreases, and we can handle situations better. We can be less impacted by stress or worries or adverse events. And therefore, it's important to understand your emotions and to be able to label them, to express them, to share them. And another interesting perspective is polyvagal perspective. According to Stephen Pork's polyvagal theory, uh, he has changed understanding of emotional regulation. An automatic nervous system has three states. First of them, ventral vagal, safe and connected, engaged, calm, and socially available. The second one is sympathetic nervous system, which is mobilized for fight or flight, and activated, energized, defensive. And the third one is dorsal vagal system, which shows shutdown, immobilized, collapsed, dissociated. And emotional regulation from a polyvagal perspective is largely about helping the nervous system return to ventral vagal, the safe connected state, from activation or shutdown. So crucially, social connection is one of the factors that helps and powerful ways to achieve this. And co-regulation, being with another regulated nervous system, is deeply built into our biology. So another model was developed by James Cross, and it includes 5 families of strategies. According to this model, there are 5 different strategies that you can use to better manage your emotions. The first one is situation selection. Before an emotion arises, choosing to enter or avoid situations that are causing these emotions. The second strategy is situation modification, which means changing aspects of the situation to change emotional impact. For instance, it can be asking more time on a deadline to reduce anxiety. The third one is attentional deployment. It's deciding where you focus your attention within situation. For instance, distraction is one of the forms, redirecting attention to neutral aspects. Concentration is another, which focusing on a task to down-regulate negative emotions. And the fourth one is cognitive reappraisal, that we have already discussed in the previous session as well, which means changing how you think about a situation to change its emotional impact. And this is an antecedent-focused strategy. It happens before full emotional response crystallizes, and research consistently shows it's one of the most effective strategies. And the next one is response modulation. After the experience has already happened and it has caused emotions, you can change your responses. For instance, this might include suppression, which is problematic, but also exercising, relaxation strategies, techniques, medication, mindfulness, meditation, and like that. So why reappraisal beats suppression? According to Grass and Jones landmark 2003 2003 study compared habitual reappraisers with habitual suppressors, and they have found that people who were able to express their emotions had uh, they had they could better concentrate, they could better decide to regulate their emotions, they could have better relationships with other people and could be more successful, whereas the people who were suppressing their emotions, they had memory challenges, emotional events, and had more superficial relationships, and also showed elevated physiological reactivity. So I'm continuing to share other strategies that you might use to help yourself to better regulate your emotions. First of them, try to identify an emotion. What are you experiencing right now? Try to label it to understand, and you can also identify what is triggering it. Is it an event? Is it an image, a memory, a thought, a feeling, and what thoughts you have around it. Do these facts support your interpretation, or are you adding something, the facts that don't justify? And oftentimes we find out that we are reacting automatically, and oftentimes the facts have already changed, and They can be the old ways of responding that we learned from childhood or when we were young, for instance. Imagine if somebody has experienced an earthquake each time a building shakes or anything that reminds them about the earthquake. They might be using the same responses even in places where there is no earthquake. For instance, I noticed that a lot of people who has migrated here and who had experienced earthquakes still continue to react to any slightest triggers in a way as if it's happening, because at that moment, as we have already discussed, since emotions are coming faster than cognitions, it can be difficult for the person to realize whether it reflects reality or not. So noticing whatever is triggering you and whatever is causing a strong emotional impact, and noticing thoughts around it, cognitions around it, what is triggering and how you are reacting, and asking how close is it to reality, or how useful is this way of reacting for you, can help you to find out new ways of perceiving and reacting to situations, and to understand what you want to change. And another strategy is called opposite action, that I have also discussed in previous session. This means doing the opposite what the emotion tells you. For instance, if you are experiencing a strong anxiety, maybe you want to withdraw, to avoid, to suppress, or distract yourself. So you can try doing the exactly opposite of that. You can try to approach, stay, engage. And if you are experiencing depression, maybe you want to isolate, maybe there is anhedonia, you don't want to do anything, and you can try to do the contrary of what your mind is telling you and what your feelings are telling you. You can try to be more socially active, reach out for help, to be physically active, to try to connect. And oftentimes this is also called behavioral activation. Once you change a response to the feeling, you are able to change your mood by using action. And oftentimes you would notice that whenever you are changing your reaction, you are creating a change, and you feel better, you experience emotions better, or you feel less negative emotions at that time. And another skill is called please skill. Please addresses emotional vulnerability and biological factors that make you more susceptible to emotional dysregulation. PL means treat physical illness. Even minor illness can significantly reduce emotional resilience. For instance, I'm working with people who have experienced accidents, and people who are experiencing constant pain. This can impact their emotional regulation and resilience, because it's not easy to experience pain every day. It is reflected on your emotions, it's reflected on your mood. And therefore, understanding the cause and trying to change it, trying to support yourself if possible, is important. E refers to balanced eating. Blood sugar instability can change and significantly impact your emotions. A means avoid mood altering substances. This might include alcohol or drugs. And S means balanced sleep. Sleep deprivation is one of the most strongest predictors of emotional dysregulation. And I'm also noticing when people are able to better improve their sleep quality, their emotional stability is also generally improving. You can use exercises in order to help yourself, to support yourself for emotional regulation. And research shows when these biological foundations are compromised, your emotional window of tolerance narrows, and therefore you are not less capable, but this means that physiological vulnerability is also present. So changing these biological factors, if that's possible, can also help you to support your emotional regulation better. And building mastery is about intentionally doing activities that give you a sense of accomplishment and competence every day, because competence and mastery build positive emotions and self-efficacy. Both of them are buffer to stress and against emotional dysregulation. And this activity doesn't need to be large. It needs to be genuinely challenging for you, not too easy, not too overwhelming, not too difficult, and it needs to be done consistently. Because as a result of completing certain tasks or assignments or work, a lot of positive hormones are being produced by your brain that can help you to better cope with stress, anxiety, overwhelming emotions. Research by Bandura shows that mastery experiences, actually accomplishing things, are the most powerful source of self-efficacy, and self-efficacy directly predicts emotional resilience under stress. And the last skill is emotion regulation ladder. Emotional regulation ladder gives you a structured way to choose the right strategy for the right intensity. Low intensity means early stages. It can be mindful awareness, naming the emotion that we have discussed, checking the facts, gentle reappraisal. But if intensity increases, you can use stronger regulation strategies such as opposite action, problem solving, behavioral activation, social connection. And if the intensity is high, this can require stronger skills such as TIPP skills that we have discussed in previous session, which can include temperature changes, intense exercises, spaced breathing, progressive relaxation. This work at the physiological level when cognitive strategies are temporarily unavailable. And having a ladder, knowing which tool to reach for at which intensity, makes regulation far more accessible. You are not searching for a strategy when you are already feel overwhelmed. So, and also there are some questions that you have asked previously. Is it possible to regulate emotions too much? Yes, over-regulation is also a problem. Suppressing or dampening all emotional experiences is linked with alexithymia, difficulty identifying and describing emotions, and it can lead to emotional numbness, disconnection, and paradoxically worse mental health. And this goal is flexible regulation, not emotional suppression. So how do you regulate emotions in the middle of conflict? First of one is biological regulation. You can use breathing exercises physiologically. You can call the timeout. And research by Gottman shows that taking even 20-minute breaks from conversation helps to regulate cortisol levels and help you to calm down, and returning to the conversation can help you to better connect with your nervous system and with the person with whom you are trying to connect at that moment. Can trauma affect emotional regulation dramatically? Trauma, especially if it was experienced in early or repeated trauma, secondary trauma, can significantly disrupt development of regulation capacities, and amygdala become hypersensitive, and the window of tolerance narrows. And trauma-specific treatments such as EMDR, CBT, somatic approaches, solution-focused brief therapy act are often needed. How long does it take to improve emotional regulation? It can depend on the person and situation and experiences they have. And research, for instance, on DBT shows that significant improvements are seen within 6 months of consistent practice. But as I said, it can change according to the person, to their situation, factors that are in play. So what we have discussed so far, we have discussed emotional regulation strategies, what you can do to support yourself, which skills you can learn and you can try if you are feeling overwhelmed or strong emotions. And I hope this was useful for you. If you have any questions, don't forget to leave your questions in the comments. And if you have any ideas which webinars or sessions would be interesting or helpful for you, you can also leave it in the comments. Take good care of yourself and see you in the next sessions again.